Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to What's Going On with Swag Her. There's no space, it's Swag Her, right? One word. And this is Swag Her's platform, and I am blessed to be on this platform and meet the amazing guests that choose to have Swag Her assist them in their promotion. And tonight, we tried this yesterday for those of you who are returning again. Thank you. If you want to see the whole interview, because we did run into some technical problems, and here's the thing, when you have something that needs to be said, you don't want to deal with technical problems. You want to make sure it's heard because you never know who's watching that will be blessed by our guests. So tonight I'm going to bring back on Swag Her What's Going On with Lady Joy, poet, playwright, life coach, author, and chaplain. Let's see what's going on. Hello, hello.
Hi, how are you today?
Look at that smile, beautiful. Look at that smile. I'm good. How are you?
I am blessed. Thank you so much for asking and having me.
It's a pleasure. I just hope like I get the great things that you said yesterday, today, because you said some wonderful things. It was interesting learning about you. So as we start, I would like to congratulate you on your book, Handle It.
Thank you.
And I want to take a minute to show it for those of you who saw it on my page, but could not remember exactly maybe what book it was when you went back strolling. So we have Handle It by Joyce Harriet. You know, this book, I'm going to give them a minute to look at it. Give them a minute to look at it. And then we're going to talk about this book. And I say this book because people write autobiographies and everybody's story ain't worth reading. Hey, that's just my opinion. That's just my opinion. But when you look at the synopsis on the back of your book, if one takes the time to read it, it makes you want to know more. So, first of all, the title. Did you have the title before you wrote the book, or did it come to you after you wrote the book?
Afterwards.
After you wrote the book.
Yes, afterwards.
And I have to ask, like I've done before, what in the world, Lady Joy, what were you thinking? Putting, as an older relative would say, what you putting your business out in them streets for? What inspired you to do that?
Actually, it was God. It just I had another plan, and I think He laughs at our plans because He has another plan for a purpose.
Right.
Um, I got a story and I can tell you about it. So I had I was home and I was healing from a surgery, and I said I was going to use that time while I was healing to get connected a little more with God, have some talk, some conversation with him and see what
Okay.
my next step is because I had just finished grad school, and I wanted to really just connect a little bit more as I go into the next phase of my life. And so I'm sitting there and I said, well, I'm just going to read from the book of Genesis, start from the beginning, because this is another beginning for me, right? So I'm
Right.
sitting by the window, which is actually the same chair that I would use next to my computer. So I'm facing the window and I'm reading the book of Genesis and I'm enjoying it. No matter how many times you read it over and over, you find out some new nuggets. So I'm reading the book of Genesis, and then I hear this voice say, "Read from right from the beginning." Now I'm thinking he said, "Read from the beginning." I'm saying, "Yeah, Father, I'm reading. I'm reading from the beginning. I'm in the book of Genesis. I'm reading from the beginning." I heard it again, "Read from the beginning." I said, "I am. I'm reading from the beginning," and I've heard it like 3, 4 times, and then I said, "Oh, right from the beginning." So I shifted my chair, swerved it, and then I was sitting next to my computer. And I just started typing. And as I'm typing, from the beginning, as he said, as I know it to be, that's what he said. And as I'm typing, I'm like, oh no, I'm not writing that. And I would try to avoid it. I would try to avoid everything that I didn't want to write. And when I did that, my computer would shut down totally. I mean, literally shut down. So I thought I got smart. I would save it every time I write something. I would save it so I don't, I still wasn't going to put those important personal pieces in. So I would save it and keep going and not put that in. Nope, not doing that. my computer still shut down. But when it shut down, I thought I was slick. I could pick it up. No, I had to start all over again from the beginning as I knew it to be. Well, at that point, I realized, Joy, you got to write whatever you need to write because as you remember it, just write it. Don't try to correct nothing. Just keep writing. So I'm typing and I'm typing and I'm typing and I'm start snotting and sneezing and crying because I got to get it out. He said, just write from the beginning. And as I'm writing, I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm sharing my life and I'm writing. I still didn't know what the purpose was for, but I'm writing and I'm crying and I'm wiping my nose and tissue all over the place. And I realized that's what I had to do. And so as Handle It was coming about, I realized I was being healed in the process. It was like things were lifting off of me without me realizing it. I started feeling lighter. And as the book kept on going and going, I hear the word say it's going to be a book, a screenplay, and a stage play. It's going to be three stacks. It was three stacks that I heard, and that's what I heard. And so when I was done, it was handle it. I didn't think about it. It was just handle it. Because as I realized all the stuff that I was writing, I didn't even realize. I didn't even realize. Half of the stuff was in me, hiding in and through me because I blocked it all out. I didn't want no one to know, so no one knew. So I was kind of putting up this facade, I guess, without me realizing it. But I had masked every trauma that I had faced and didn't even realize that's what I was doing until I had written my book.
Wow.
Yeah.
It it amazes me when people say, include myself, when we think we know what we need to do,
Yeah.
it's more like what we want to do.
Yeah.
And then
Mhm.
God comes in, he speaks, and you're sitting there acting like you don't understand the difference between read and write. You knew what he was telling you. You just thought you knew what you wanted to do.
Yeah. 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 Pretty much. I can
And
avoid that. Yeah. That's what I,
wow.
yeah.
And
Hmm.
and listening to him and choosing finally to listen to him,
Hmm.
you're saying that's where your healing came from.
Yeah, he was actually, my God, it was amazing. And that's what brought me to the woman that I am today. Because oftentimes we go to see a therapist or a psychiatrist or whatever. God was right there being my therapist, my psychologist. He was right there healing me. He was wiping my tears. He brought me through it all. And when I tell you, I felt so much lighter. I looked at life differently. I moved differently. I was forgiving in my heart to people who had affected me that I didn't even realize had affected me. And I just used that time to just be so appreciative that I had God from my therapist and my psychiatrist to help this young girl in her mind, being young. And at that time, I was literally 49,
So in your book, you you said you were 8 years old, you were raped.
between 8 to 10. I was
Eight,
actually raped.
eight,
Yes.
8 to 10.
Well, I'm sorry. Yeah, between 8 to 10, I was actually raped and had my first threesome at 10 years
Say that again.
old. Yeah. So after being raped from 8 to 10 with my cousin, um, after going through that process, when I had told my mom about it, because I got to share a little before I just jump into that, if you don't mind.
I don't mind.
Um, so I didn't know we were staying at my aunt's house, right? My mom and I. And we were staying at my aunt's house, and she had two sons with her at the time. And they were much older than I was because I was 7 years old, and we went there to live. And so, in the middle of the night, every morning when I got up, I didn't know what it was I was feeling. It might sound a little gory right now, but you want to know. I don't mind sharing because there's so many girls going through, and boys going through similar things. And I didn't know what it was that I was feeling between my legs. I just felt greasy every morning. I didn't know. Well, come to find out, I think after a year or two later, I woke up and he was right there on top of me inside. And that's when I realized what it was because I woke up with him inside, but then I stood there froze as if I was still asleep and let him do what he had been doing. But then when I noticed when he was wiping me off, And then after a while, when I got up to go to the bathroom, I said, "Oh, that explains it. That's what was happening." Um, so I waited for my mom the next night. I waited for her to come home. And my mom, she was in the streets. She would come home like 4 or 5 in the morning. And when my mom came home, she said, "What are you doing up at this?" I said, "I got something to tell you. I really need to tell you something." And when I told her, she didn't pay me any mind. She didn't realize. So nothing happened. We moved and my cousin moved with us.
The same cousin that raped you.
Yes. My mom didn't know. So my mom, I didn't realize until after I had written my book that my mom was so high. She was drunk, high. She was just all, inebriated. Just, yeah. And so she didn't comprehend what it was that I said. She didn't comprehend it. And I thank God. I thank God that my mom did not comprehend what I said. Because knowing my mom is no longer here, but knowing her at the time, she would have killed him. She would have killed him. And if his mom would have gotten away, her older sister, she probably would have hurt her too. Matter of fact, knowing my mom, she would have took 2 lives for me. Um, so it was a reason why my mom couldn't comprehend what I said because I definitely wouldn't wanted that for her. So I'm really grateful. But although he came to live with us, so now he's with us in a home. And still no one is home. It's just me, and I could do whatever I want to do because I'm raising myself, seemingly, because my mom is in the streets. So I had a best friend during that time, Donna. She was maybe a year older than I was, but you could tell she had some experiences like I did. Um, she and I became very sexually, close together at 10 years old. And one day my cousin seen, what we were going through in the bedroom, and he came in and joined us. So I had a threesome at 10 years old. Yeah. I'm not
First,
proud of it, but it's a past of mine that I over the years when I got into my adulthood, I would watch my nieces and nephews so close. I had taken on a whole new different way of reacting and responding to people. Whereas I wanted to protect them. And, as when I became a mom, I was so overly protective over my son. I didn't let him go to people's house or, it was different. It was different from my experiences. I just didn't want nothing. If I can prevent it and avoid it, I didn't want anything to happen to them because I know what it was I experienced. And so,
I I am
yeah,
truly sorry, and
yeah,
there's nothing like a mother's love, and
yeah.
mothers are not perfect. It's just people are mean out here, and the weight that you had to carry at such a young age isn't fair at all. But the fact that you're bold enough
Hmm.
and God knew it was time for you to do this book, I have to say thank you,
Hmm.
because there are a lot of things going on in this world, and people don't realize it. I interviewed a therapist one time,
Hmm.
um, and she said, "Women, stop calling your girls' vaginas cupcakes and cookies." She said a little girl had gone to school. She was being sexually abused at home, telling her teacher her dad keeps touching her cupcake. Later
Hmm.
on, the teacher didn't pay it any mind. Later on, they realized she was being raped at home. That's a lot. That's a lot.
Hmm. Hmm.
So you write the book.
Hmm.
What are you hoping that this book does for the readers?
Well, pay attention to your girls and your boys because it's just not girls.
Right.
Um, it's just not girls. Oh my God, it's not girls only. However, as a parent, because there are no instructions on how to be a parent, we can Google on instructions for everything else. But as far as a parent, we have to learn these things on our own. Um, Pay attention. And that's the main thing. When you pay attention, listen to what your children are trying to say to you. Because I was vocal. I had became very vocal at a young age when I was being molested at 3 and 4 and 5 years old. So I had became very vocal then. Um, And that's why for me, it was easy for me to speak to my mom, not realizing she wasn't comprehending, but it was very easy. So I was always vocal. But when your child is not vocal, you got to pay attention to what they're not saying. You have to pay attention to them. Listen, my book will kind of help you understand their body language, or understand how your child is changing and what's going on. Reading Handle It will show you uh, how life can catch you in situations because your past has not even caught up to you. It will show you, it will teach you how, even in your past, you end up moving on in life, living, but dead until something comes and wake you up, like God did with me. And also how it transcends to people often have ideas about how one turns gay, because later on in the book it talks about me living an alternative lifestyle. So it has a transition of things that occurred that morphed into another phase of my life. Handle It will teach you a lot of things as to how things happen with an individual.
So I want to ask you a question, but I want to phrase it right
Okay.
because you said sometimes it will lead you to live an alternative life.
Hmm.
Does that mean, because I do have friends that talk to me about, alternative lifestyles, but does that mean you weren't born like that? It was the abuse that made you make the decision to be with a woman?
Yes, because I was born a girl. No doubt about it. No, there's no doubt about it. I was born a girl. Um, and I wish I could have lived that little girl life, and that woman that I was destined to be. But I'm doing that now. However, from the beginning, how I was being molested first by a woman, and then her son, and then another auntie, her sons, notice plural. Um, so moving on from that, and then later on being molested by my aunt, and I felt like, wow, when I was molested by her, it was different than I was molested by my cousins. So in my mind, I put different things together. Hmm, I didn't like the scent of when the guys would molest me. But when my aunt did what she did, it wasn't that bad. She just handled her business and she got off and it was fine. So I always held on to that. And
When did,
so later,
I'm sorry, go
excuse me.
ahead. I'm sorry.
And so later on, um, as an adult, I already have my son, right? This is how it linked to me. I was already, I already had a kid now, life went on. Now with this gentleman, beautiful guy, great guy, wonderful guy. I had two miscarriages by him at 6 months. Two, 6 months, and I had two miscarriages back to back. And at that point, I'm like, wow, I really want this man to have children. He deserves to have children. He's a marvelous man. Um, And because I couldn't give him children, my mind went back to when I was molested by the women, by the girls, because I felt that I couldn't give a man what he needed. And so I felt less at that point in my life, I started feeling like I was less than a woman.
I'm
And so because
sorry.
yeah, and so
Oh,
because I and
how,
so because
because it's like, how much can one person take?
that's why it's called handling. That's why it's called handling. And because I didn't realize, like, wow, oh my God, he really needs to have a woman who he can have children with. And so I decided to let him go. I decided to let him be free and find that woman that can give him what he needs. When I tell you, it took a minute for him to, say because he still wanted to keep the relationship going. He was like, "It doesn't matter. I love you. We can adopt." But in my mind, I couldn't satisfy this man. And so at that point, that's when I went on and started looking up dating women. It was called the Village Voice back in New York back in the 90s. It was called the Village Voice, and you can look up alternative lifestyles. And I did that, and I met my first girlfriend. Yeah.
And it
By the
was,
way, by the way, the gentleman, as soon as I let him go, he ended up having like six beautiful kids, like back to back to back.
wow, wow. And you said that, and it was in an alternative lifestyle that your girlfriend told you, led you to right to a God.
That was after my third or fourth girlfriend. Yeah.
Wow.
Hmm.
When you, when you, well, let me ask you this.
Hmm.
When did you realize that what these people were doing to you was wrong? I ask that because we go up in households, and if it's a normal, if it becomes normal, we think it's normal. When did you realize, hey, this wasn't nice what they did to me?
Hmm. Hmm. I was actually 5 years old, and my uncle and aunt. My aunt was a transit train conductor, and she drove the train at night. I was living with my aunt and uncle at that time, up until I was 6 years old. So during that time, I was living with my aunt and uncle. He was a transit cop, and she drove the train, and they worked on the weekends at night. And so every weekend, we would go to these individuals' house so that they can keep me and my other two cousins, who were also older than I was. And so this particular weekend, my uncle asked the question. He said, "Girls, whose house would you like to go to this weekend?" And one of my cousins said Aunt Rena, the other cousin said Aunt Berth. And I just started breaking out crying. I just started crying. I just started crying. And my auntie, she said, "Joyce, what are you crying for? And you better tell me right now." That's when I realized I had a voice. And when I told her, I just started crying. And I said, "And every time, and every time, and every time, and every time." And I just started spilling all the tea. My aunt told my uncle, "Drive me there right now." And we had to stay in the car. She went upstairs. We never came back. We never went to their house again. Neither one of, because it was two different relatives. We never went back to any of their houses. So they never babysat us again. So that's when I realized I had a voice at 5 years old.
Wow. Have you, so gotta ask, after God has done what he done with, after God has done what he's done with you,
Hmm.
he's gotten you to listen to him.
Yeah.
You've written your book. You know, obviously, even more, you can trust him, right?
Hmm.
You're now a chaplain. I
Hmm.
just, Stacy and her questions. Did you feel called to do this? Or is it something you said you owe God?
No, actually, as far as the chaplaincy, how that came about, that wasn't even anything I asked for. Um, I had made a phone call to the prison because I always like to mentor women in prison, girls in prison, and behind bars. And so my goal at that point was to reach out to the person who does the events or allow people to come into the jail. And that's what I was doing. I was just researching who to speak to so I can come and volunteer. And then this sergeant, he spoke to me on the phone. He said, "I don't know why I'm asking, but would you like to be a chaplain?" And then it started from there. And so recently, I just got ordained into it. So, yeah, just recently, as a matter of fact.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations. And I,
Hmm.
and I only asked because I don't know, listening to you, God has just been working. He's just been working. And I know, we all have our different reasons. Has this, as we wrap this up, have you forgiven those people?
Yes, yes, yes. I didn't speak to the other half of the family who did what they did, but yes, I forgave them. But my cousin, who's my first cousin, I did forgive him, and it happened in a restaurant. I was sitting in a restaurant, He happened to come in. I didn't realize it was his favorite restaurant. I was by myself. He came by himself. And I said, "Come, come." And we sat and we talked. And I told him, I said, it was because of you that I said it was because of you that I didn't get to experience the experiences that I needed first, with the man
Oh,
or my husband. Or I said, "Do you know you took a large part of me? Do you?" And we just started talking. Long story short of it, he started crying. He said it was done to him because he's gay. He's all out gay male. Like he's been gay for many, many years. Um, Sweetheart of a guy. But he let me know at that moment that the terrible things that was done to him as a young boy, and then you tend to perversion. When you're perverted, you tend to pervert other people, and that's what he did. He did that to me.
wow. And forgiveness is a great thing.
Yeah, it is. It
And,
is.
and in my case, Lady Joy, I'm not going to lie to you.
Mhm.
I've had to ask God for help to forgive.
Mhm. Mhm.
Because as a human being, people can be so mean,
Mhm. Yeah.
that it's hard. I'm happy for you. I
Thank
am
you.
truly happy for you, the way you've grown and the way that you're telling your story. And on a happy note, before you say Stacy's like really getting too deep on me, you did the book
Yes.
and now two plays.
Yes. I've done other plays prior to these two, but this is my first time in Atlanta trying to introduce myself. I want to introduce myself as a playwright here in Atlanta.
Okay, okay. Well,
Mhm.
I'm sure you're
Mhm.
you're in the right place. And I've got to ask, we've got two names for the plays. And look, I told you, I Googled it and I said, well, how many plays has she written? But the titles, tell us about the titles and how we will be able to see the plays if we're in Atlanta.
Sure. So Miss Afro was actually inspired by my one of my dear friends, Nantrell Taylor, Miss Afro. We went to an audition. I was trying to do a casting call, and um, I asked her to come along with me to help me. And we're sitting there waiting to, for people to come in to be casted, and no one came in. 2 hours passed, and no one came. And Nantrell is also a reverend, and so she said, "Joy, I just got it." I said, "Well, what is it?" She said, "We are the cast." I said, "Well, what do you mean we're the cast?" She said, "Yeah, we're the cast." I said, "Okay, explain." So
Uh-huh.
she said she got this vision where it's three women called Miss Afro is sharing their story, how they connected, where they came from, what's going on, and how it happened, and how they got through it, and what they're doing now. And that's what Miss Afro is about. It's like three women telling their story, telling their hurts, the good, bad, and the ugly, sharing some things, some journey, the journey through this thing called life that we're doing. Um, and it's so powerful. It's so powerful. And Miss Afro is the first time that it's the third time that Miss Afro is being put on. And each time it's always another person. It's always another person who feels like, you know what, Joy, I would like to be a Miss Afro. I want to be a part of it. I need to share my story. Can I link with you guys on Miss Afro? So this is the next, and this Miss Afro is with this third individual who is with this third individual story. And when I tell you, you think mine's is powerful, hers is beyond. And so I welcome other people. I include the audience in Miss Afro, and Miss Afro is so powerful. You will not leave from seeing Miss Afro the same way that you came. You will
And
not.
and this is from October 23rd to October 26th.
No. So Miss Afro has two shows each day. October
Okay.
on on Thursday, October 23rd at 3 p.m. and 7 p.m.
Okay.
October 24th at 3 p.m. and 7 p.m.
Okay.
That's Miss Afro.
Okay.
Um, then we have She Said Yes. That's
Okay.
on Friday, October 25th. I mean, I'm sorry, Saturday, October 25th, and Sunday, October 26th.
Okay.
Um, the only difference is for She Said Yes, it's only a 7 p.m. show on Saturday.
Okay.
and at
Well,
3 p.m. and 7 p.m. on Sunday.
well, if you don't mind, come back on Swag Hers platform, put in the comments the days of your show,
Okay.
um, so that viewers will know. Uh, I'd like to take a trip to Atlanta. I'm gonna look at those dates, and I'm proud of you. And is there anything you would like your viewers to know before we end the show?
Um, First of all, thank you so much for having me on. I really just would like the viewers to come out and see the stage plays, to see how they can relate themselves in it. Miss Afro is more intentional and serious, but yet it's funny. Um, uh, it's life changing. And then she said, yes, when you think you know what's happening, you don't. The twist is awesome, but it has so much about us as individuals. Whereas you'll be glad. You'll be glad that you came. And you're gonna wish you brought your mom, your cousin, your because it's that sort of play to whereas you can say, wow, she did her thing. I want to see the movie. I want to see more. You're gonna want some more from my writing. So just coming out to support me for the first time. It will be great and exciting because, like I said, I'm a new playwright in Atlanta, and I really want to do my stage plays every other month. And I'm always looking for more talent. And so you'll have the opportunity when you come out to see the shows.
Oh wow! And how do they follow you on Facebook, Instagram? How do they follow you?
I want to say pretty much maybe Facebook, and some on Instagram if they were to, request me as a friend. And no, I'm not on social media like that, but at the same time, I do post things periodically.
And what's
Um,
the
my
page?
my Instagram, you can go on. It's Lady Joy, but it's what is that lowercase? It's how would I say that? It's oh okay, I can see it. It's MS period LADY underscore joy. Just simple.
Okay.
Miss Lady Joy.
Okay.
Facebook is just under Joy Brown, but so many Browns,
Right.
but it's under Joy Brown. Um, for the sake of this, I don't know how I can just give you my telephone number. I'm fine with that. No.
Well, you want to give your phone number?
Or I mean my email address. I can
Your
do
email
that.
address.
I could
Okay,
give
give
my
me your email.
email address, which I'm fine with, and
Okay.
that would be MSHARRIET 777 at gmail.com. So that's Miss Harriet 777 at gmail.com. And I
Okay.
answer every email.
Miss Harriet 777 at gmail.com.
Yes, I
Well,
answer every email. So that would be a great way to reach me.
Lady Joy, it has
Yes.
been truly a pleasure having you on the show. Thank you for your honesty. Thank you for answering the questions, and not saying, Stacy, that's none of your business. But after you wrote that book, Lady Joy, you should be open to talk to me. Have a great one, beautiful. I am wishing you the best, and I do hope that I get to meet you and see your stage plays.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Care of
Thank you
yourself.
so much. Thank you
You're
so
welcome.
much.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Thank you, everyone, for watching. Thank you very much. Follow Lady Joy, okay? And her email, if you need to contact her, maybe you have a story you need to tell her, it's in the comments. And as always, thank you for watching Swag Her, right? And the other thing is, don't stress too much about yesterday. Don't worry too much about tomorrow, because if you do, you just might miss living today. Everyone, have a great night.